let's just say we want to add a chart to this data. What we have here are CE hours, community continuing education hours, and we want to add a chart to our pivot table. So we'll select anywhere in here, go to the Insert tab, and I could choose Recommended Charts, which would usually work. Frequently works well with pivot tables. I could select my own, but the recommended ones generally go with it. And you can see that this chart has the basic information in it. So I only have the years 2016 and 2017, but there's a long list of dates on there. You can see right down here, Shirley Temple, quarter 1. The second quarter is Nathan Armstrong, 2016, right there. And then Alexander and Isaac Stewart. Well, let's just say we want to change it. We want to make this area smaller. So we'll click this. So now we just have the years 2016, 2017. You can see how the chart changed with the information. Depending on how much detail we want, the chart will change. So let's try that again. We'll start from the very beginning. I'm going to select this and delete it. And select this and delete it. So we're going to put our cursor in here, go to Insert, Pivot Table. I want it on the existing worksheet, and I'm going to select it because I'm a little afraid it won't get that last one in there. And the location is going to be right there. That looks like it changed it. I want to go right there. And it's interesting. I clicked on this spot with the marching ants. It put in the sheet number. It didn't put in the cell address. So I have to select it again, and it popped in. That's something you have to watch for every now and then. Okay, we're going to add CE hours. We're going to put in date. We're going to take the years, and we're only going to have the last 2 years, 16 and 17. If I were to click plus, it's got first and second quarter, and you've got date over here. So as you see, you can just kind of plus on all the way down. If I would put concatenate in there, it's got more details and more information in there. So this is in May, that's in March. Depends on how much information I want in here. If I wanted to, I could get rid of the quarters, because when I did the date, quarters, date, and years all popped into this area. Let's say I don't want that. I'm going to remove that field. And now I am going to add a chart. So with a cell selected in the pivot chart, I'm going to go to the Insert tab. Recommended charts are a good idea when you're working with pivot tables. So I'm going to select it. I could do others, but I think I'll stick with clustered column. Okay. And there you have it. Shirley Temple, Nathan Armstrong. And once again, I can change this. And you can see how that changed the graph. Let's just say I only want serious information about 2017. I'll click the plus on here. So you can see that I have some information about 2016. Change that here. And you can see that this area got taller because it combined the broken down aspects of 2017. So you can see like it's pretty tall right here. It goes all the way up to almost 50, right there, the number 50. Let's click on it. Right there, it just looks like it's almost 25. 25 there and 25 there. Of course, with graphs, you can make a lot of changes. Let's click this arrow right here. Let's just change this if we want to try a different style. That's one way to do it. And of course, I can have the chart title, legend, which is important, grid lines. I think grid lines are important, and so on. I have data labels on the inside, 66, 24, 24. I can change the data labels. And so on. Now let's try another pivot table. We'll select Insert, Pivot Table, select the range. Don't quite want that range in there. And existing worksheet, got this area selected right there, D23. We're good. Okay, first thing, let's put in this row right here, the project. We want commercial, farm, and home. It's basically divided into those three groups, and we want the total area. So if you look at this chart, you can see that the total area is the area that is the D area and the C area combined. So we'll take the T area because we want to know how many supplies, and there we have it. But let's add a chart to make it a little bit easier to understand. So we'll select anywhere on the pivot table, go to the Insert tab, and good idea to choose recommended charts when you're doing pivot tables. And we'll check that and click OK. And it's easy to see here that most of the areas on the home, farm is less, and commercial is the least amount. And you can see it here, but it helps to see a chart sometimes just to illustrate that. If I wanted to add more information in here, I could add the region right there. And I think I want region on top and project below. That's just easier to understand. It's interesting that the table changed. We have Midwest, Northeast, Northwest, and Southwest. You can see that the table changed when this changed. It's kind of fun just to see how quickly it changes. Midwest has a high number in the farm area. I won't change it back. Now there's something called splicers, and splicers can help filter things, especially if you're giving a presentation with the book, with an Excel workbook open. Let me show you how that works. Okay, so here's how we'll add the slicers. We'll select anywhere on the pivot table, come over to Analyze, and right there where it says Insert Slicer, we'll insert it, and I'm going to click on Project, and we'll click OK. And now we have this slicer. So if you're given a presentation sometime, this can be useful. Let's just say we only want to know about commercial. So you can see that commercial, that's the only one that's illustrated. If we only want to show the home ones, that's the only one that shows. Interesting that the chart also shows the same thing. If I want to show more than one, I hold down the Control key and I can get more information in that way. Let's add another slicer. So I'll click anywhere on here, go to Analyze, and choose Insert Slicer. So click that, and this time I want Region. We'll click OK. And now if I only want to know the Midwest, it's right there. If I want to know the Midwest and the Northwest, I can hold down the Control key and select that also. And of course, this changed based on what I just did. You might want to change the color of this. So what I can do is I can select it and come right up here under the Options tab and change the color. On this project, we've done a little bit of conditional formatting to quickly show where the high values are. For example, right here, this number and this number, they're in red, and so they're the two highest value in the sum of the balance. So the cost and supplies balanced with the income, and there's that much profit. You would think that the sum of the area that's being worked on would correspond to the amount of profit, but it doesn't, and that's the problem, and that's something that can be evaluated to see how improvements could be made. The highest value here is this number, and then this is a lesser high value. So you just look for the reds, you know that they're the high values, and you look at the other colors and you can see lower values associated with that. They ought to be similar colors all the way across. Now if we were to add a chart to help illustrate this, we'll click on here, select recommended charts, and I want to go with that one. We'll get this thing out of the way. And here we want to do a comparison. The red references the amount of income you've made off of a project, and the blue represents the amount of square feet and so on. Might be you're comparing two dissimilar things. So how can we make them more similar so that we can do an actual comparison? You know, the square feet, the total of the area that we're working on, as opposed to the red area, which is the income minus supplies and costs, which is the balance of our profit. So how we could change that is we could select, we could go to this area here, and we have the actual values, but we want them to be a percentage of the grand total. And you can see that's going to make a big difference in this chart right here. So I'll select this, come up to Show, and I want the field list. And right here I have the sum of the total area. So I'm going to click the down arrow, value field settings. Very important. It's set to summarize values by. I'm going to click on Show Values As. Click the down arrow, percentage of grand total. Okay. Same thing over here, sum of balance. Click the down arrow, value field settings, show values as. I'm going to change it from no calculation to percentage of grand total. And now, if you look at this, you can see, since we're basing them on the percentages, you can see the similarities. For example, in the Northeast, you can say, wow, we really made a profit on homes, which is right here. The profit is huge compared to the amount of square feet that we used to build this, to do it. It looks like in the Midwest, the farm, we're not making as much profit as relative to what we're spending on the square feet. So in the Northwest, we're losing money. You can see it goes backwards right there. And so what we need to focus on, we're doing something right in the Northeast with our home products, home swimming pools, or whatever it is we're making. The profit is huge there. And the reason we could tell that so easily is we turned everything into a percentage. A percentage, if you were to check this, these numbers add up to 100%. So we could, for example, take this down here. Okay, so here we go. We can see, for example, these totals right here, 43, 51, and so on. If you were to add them up, that comes to 100%. If you were to add this up, it comes to 100%. And so that's a good way of making a comparison between the two. But I'm going to take it back. I'm going to open it up. And change it back to how it was before. Come over to Analyze, Show, Field List, Sum of the total area, Value Field Settings, Show Values as, I've got it percentage of grand total, no calculation. Okay. Show values as, I'm going to change it back to no calculation. I don't think this is the best way to do it, but I just wanted to show that there is a difference in how the chart looks. Also, you can see Midwest, Northeast. If we just close this down, it changes with the chart too.